And hello, everybody, and welcome to the Movie Pit Podcast. I am your host, Christian. Thank you very much for joining me this week. It's an interesting week this week. We got a lot of rumors and speculation news-wise, so we're gonna run down the news items for you guys. And by me, I mean just me, because it's just me. Welcome. Thank you guys so much for joining me on the podcast today. This is going out a little later than I would have liked it. Had some things come up, so it's a late podcast. Forgive me for that. I am going to try to put the podcast up earlier than usual. This week, it kind of all piled up on top of me, so forgive me for that. Alright, but let's move on to the news items, shall we? Let's get right to why we do this podcast, all movie news. So the only news I'm going to mention that came out last week is, of course, the Golden Globes. The Golden Globes were this past Sunday, and we had one film was a pretty big winner, and that was La La Land. Now, La La Land picked up a record-breaking 7 wins at the Golden Globes. It pretty much won every category it was nominated for, which included Best Original Score, Best Original Song, City of Stars,
City of Stars, are you shining just for me? City of Stars, there's so much that I can't see.
Best Screenplay, Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy, with, of course, Ryan Gosling winning. Best Actress in a Musical or Comedy winning, of course, in Emma Stone. Best Director in Damien Chazelle. And Best Picture in Musical or a Comedy. So it picked up the big win. Again, 7 wins. Pretty much everything it was nominated for won. Other winners of the night included Aaron Taylor Johnson for Best Supporting Role in the movie Nocturnal Animals, which surprisingly beat out the awards favorites. I'm going to butcher his name, Mahershala Ali for Moonlight. I'm pretty sure he's going to win the Oscar, but it was very surprising that Aaron Taylor Johnson won the Golden Globe for that. But he was good in it. Just, he wasn't as good as Ali was. So there was that. Viola Davis won for Best Supporting Actress in Fences, or Hidden Fences, depending on who you ask. Zootopia won for Best Animated Film. Elle, which was it's a French film, I believe it's a French film, went for Best Foreign Language Film, obviously. And speaking of Elle, Isabelle Hubert, I think that's how you pronounce her last name, I could be wrong about that. She surprisingly won for Best Actress in a Drama, beating out Amy Adams, Jessica Chastain, Ruth Negga, and Natalie Portman. Casey Affleck won Best Actor in a Drama, and finally the big winner of the night was Moonlight, winning for Best Motion Picture Drama, beating out films like Lion, Hacksaw Ridge, Hell or High Water, and Manchester by the Sea. So now that the Golden Globes are over, it is almost time for the Oscars. Of course, there's other, big award shows like the BAFTAs and SAG Awards. We won't talk about those. We'll just talk about the big one, which is the Oscars. I believe the nominations come out the 20th. So we'll definitely talk about that on the podcast. And that would actually complete the full rotation, because the first thing we talked about on the podcast, the very first podcast that was released, was box office predictions, was the Oscar nominations and predictions. So we'll do a little fun thing with that when it comes around. And of course, the Oscars will premiere in February. So we'll run all that down when the time comes. All right, so let's move on to this week's news items. A few quick news items to start it off. Woody Harrelson is confirmed for the young Han Solo film. Last week, a news item came out, of course, that Woody Harrelson was in negotiations for the mentor role in the young Han Solo film. Of course, Alden Ehrenreich from Hail Caesar is playing the young Han Solo. We also know the film will be directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller. And it already has a cast of Donald Glover, who also won big at the Golden Globes. He won on the TV side, of course, for a show Atlanta. He's playing a young Lando Calrissian, and Emily Clark, from Game of Thrones, or Emilia Clarke, I should say, is signed on to an unspecified role at the moment. No word yet, of course, on what the film will be about, other than the early days of young Han Solo. Of course, the film will start shooting soon, as it has a 2018 release. So we'll obviously talk more about that when more information comes out. Deadpool 2 will bring back Colossus, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, and Dopinder. Collider got an exclusive that Deadpool 2 will bring back those classic characters from the first film, although we probably could assume that was probably going to happen, but it is nice to hear that it is going to happen. It came from an interview they were doing with the writers of the film, Reed Reese and Paul Wernick, and they kind of confirmed that they will be coming back, so it's kind of cool to see that. Of course, they didn't talk too much about the film, but they did confirm that, and they did confirm that Cable will be in the film. He will be a little different than what we know from the comics, if you know anything about the comics. And they're still going to keep the mystery of who is going to play Cable up until probably the very end. Of course, obviously before shooting starts, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with Deadpool. But yeah, we got that. We got those 3 characters coming back confirmed, so it should be really cool. The Tomb Raider film has added a new star in Daniel Wu. The film is, of course, based off the reboot of the video games from a few years ago. It's picking up some serious star power on that front. Alicia Vikander is going to play Lara Croft, which I think is pretty cool. Walton Goggins, he's been in a bunch of stuff. He's one of those guys that you kind of just look and you're like, oh, it's that guy from that thing. He was in the Hateful Eight. He was in I'm trying to think of things that a lot of people have probably seen. Hateful Eight. He was in the TV show. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend you watch it. This is my recommendation for the week on the TV side. I know it's a movie podcast, but TV side I can still do a little bit. He was on the show Justified. And if you haven't watched that show, it's no longer on air, so you can just binge watch the whole series. It's a really good show. Really is. So he was on that, and he's been in a bunch of other stuff. So I mean, you'll recognize him for The Shield. He was also on The Shield. You'll recognize him when you see him. So he's gonna appear in the film. He signed on a few weeks ago as the villain, and now the film has picked up international star Daniel Wu. Wu will play a character named Lu Ren, who is described as a ship captain who partners with Croft on the quest to find her father. Wu has made a name for himself here in the States last year and the year before. He did the motion capture and the performance for the villain Gul'dan in the Warcraft film that came out last year, and he's also on the AMC action series Into the Badlands, which I'm a huge fan of. He also has a tremendous and famed career in China and Hong Kong. He's actually a prodigy to Jackie Chan, which is actually pretty cool. So he can handle himself pretty well action-wise, and we'll see kind of what happens there. He's also had smaller roles in some other stuff. He was in a sci-fi thriller, the Europa Report, that came out, I believe, 2 years ago, and he was also in The Man with the Iron Fist, the movie that RZA directed a handful of years ago as well. Filming is expected to start shooting soon for Tomb Raider, as it has a release date at the moment of March 16th, 2018. Will Smith may star in the live-action Dumbo film. So this is pretty much like the what's going on? What's going on here? News. Will Smith is circling a role in Disney's live-action adaptation of Dumbo, which Tim Burton is already attached to direct. Smith is only eyeing the role, and he's not officially signed on. He's not sort of officially in talks. He's just eyeing it up at the moment. But the idea of Smith joining Dumbo is a curious one by everyone, pretty much. If he does take the role, he will play a father whose children fall in love with Dumbo at the circus. That's kind of the only character description that the reports gave out. So the only thing, what may stop Smith from potentially starring in Dumbo, is that it's the film is aiming to start shooting apparently at the same time as Bad Boys for Life, aka Bad Boys 3. Which would mean, according to Variety, who broke the report, that if Smith took the role in Dumbo, Bad Boys for Life would be pushed back yet again, putting it back on the shelf for God knows how long. which I'm sure will come to the many disdain of fans who have been asking for a Bad Boys 3 movie for years and years and years. Another star that was tacked on to this report by Variety that was approached for Dumbo is Tom Hanks, and apparently they want him to play the villain role, although it looks like Hanks may opt out to star in a World War II film called Greyhound, although that's not confirmed. So Dumbo is being worked on. Disney's trying to pack on a lot of star power for this, which I don't blame them. I mean, it is Disney after all. Smith is currently filming a sci-fi cop film called Bright with his Suicide Squad director David Ayer over on Netflix, and of course he has made it very clear he wants to play Deadshot again, either in Suicide Squad 2 or teaming up with his Suicide Squad partner in crime, Margot Robbie, in the Harley Quinn sort of spin-off, because we'll have other characters in it, Gotham City Sirens. Dumbo currently doesn't have a release date, and it currently doesn't have a production date, at least not reported anyway, so we'll have to see how this kind of plays out in the weeks to come. I mean, it'd be interesting to see Will Smith in a Dumbo film, just because it's just really weird, but if given the choice, if I was given the choice of picking, for whatever reason, Will Smith's next film, I would tell him to pick Bad Boys for Life, just to get it out of the way. Just saying. That's just me. All right, let's move on to some rumor news. One of the very first rumors that we'll have here on the podcast. 3 names are returning for Pacific Rim Uprising. Now, the only reason I put this as a rumor is because it came from a photo that was taken down a few hours after the photo had been pretty much, spread online. So the sequel to Pacific Rim, called Pacific Rim Uprising, is currently filming down in Australia, and the new photo, which, like I mentioned, has been removed, gave away some returning cast members that we haven't heard of before. So far, we've only known the new cast members announced. One of them, of course, includes John Boyega. But this new photo showed that both scientist characters in Newt and Golub, played by Charlie Day, I said his name weird, I don't know why I said it, played by Charlie Day and Bern Gorman from the first one, The Scientist, will return, as well will standout actress Rinko Kikuchi as Mako Mori. Now, their names haven't been confirmed in any sort of news reports. No casting updates have been given for these these 3. Besides Guillermo del Toro, when he was still attached to the project, saying we're going to bring back as many of the characters as we can. One of them was going to be Charlie Day's character, because he was going to play a major role in the film. We don't know if that's still going to be the case now that Del Toro is no longer a director. He's just a producer. We'll see what happens with that. But the photo came from Dan Mendel, who is a cinematographer on the film, which showed a camera with a bunch of stickers on it. And it had the new cast that was there, like John Boyega. It confirmed that Scott Eastwood who was in talks for the film for a long time, at least reporting wise, it showed that he was going to be in the film. It showed John Boyega, it showed some other people, but then it had these 3. But one sticker that was on there was Carl Urban, which was a name that wasn't even rumored or speculated or anything for the film. That was on there, and it kind of made everyone go like, whoa, what's going on? But Urban later came out and said that he's not appearing in the film. That could be him just saying, just covering up what's the photo, since the photo was taken down. That could just be him covering his tracks. We don't know. Although it would be really cool to see Carl Urban in Pacific Rim Uprising. Just saying. So the photo being taken down does lead to some speculation, but either way, it's nice to have some confirmation, even though it was taken down, that there was going to be returning cast members to the film, and especially those 3 who were, big standouts from the film. Of course, Charlie Hunnam is not going to return. He already said he wasn't going to return for the film, so we'll see new cast members along the way. So Pacific Rim Uprising will be directed by Stephen S. DeKnight, who was a showrunner for Daredevil Season 1. He also did the Spartacus show on Starz for however long it was on. So he's going to be directing the film. The film will open on February 23rd, 2018. I guarantee we'll be hearing a lot more from Pacific Rim very, very soon. Alright, so let's move on to some comic book news. It was a rather slow week this week, so we're speeding through the news almost pretty quickly. Green Lantern, the reboot, has gotten new writers. DC Entertainment and Warner Bros. Have taken a major step forward in their Green Lantern film, which is actually called Green Lantern Corps, I should say, as they finally hired writers for the film in Justin Rhodes and David S. Goyer. Now, Rhodes is a relatively new writer in Hollywood. He's mostly been working on short films. As for Goyer, this will just add to the pile of comic book films he's been attached to. He's been attached to all the Blade films, even directed Blade Trinity. He was attached and worked on in multiple ways on Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight films. He wrote Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance. He developed and produced, and I believe even wrote one of the episodes for Constantine when it was on the air, and he worked on Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. He's also developing the TV show Krypton, which is of course based off the Superman's home planet. So there's that. Now David Goyer, I mean, he's very hit and miss. Some people will probably say he's more miss and miss, but he's very hit and miss, let's put it that way. Now, according to reports, the film is being described as a, quote, lethal weapon in space, end quote, and will focus on 2 Green Lanterns, which is something new that we haven't heard of. Those Green Lanterns are Hal Jordan and John Stewart. Now, for those not too familiar with Green Lantern is a protector. It's not a person. It is a job description that doesn't even right. It is kind of, I guess, a label, you would say. Green Lantern is a protector of a specific sector in the universe who carries a ring and grants him or her, or even it sometimes, special abilities to create things like shields and weapons and what have you. Of course, there was the 2011 film with Ryan Reynolds where he played Hal Jordan, which didn't really live up to what it could have been, and a lot of people didn't really like that movie. I mean, it had its moments, it did, but at the end of the day, it wasn't that great. Either way, this Green Lantern film, we haven't heard a lot from it. It's been pretty quiet. The last thing we kind of heard from the film was its release date, which was July 24th, 2020. Who knows if that's still intact or not. Although with the recent news of the DC Extended Universe, I don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe they're trying to speed up the film in some way because, the Flash, we talked about here on the podcast before, the Flash has lost pretty much every director that's even touched it or even looked at it. And fans are starting to get a little weary, maybe, of what's going on. At least I know I am. So Green Lantern Corps is this new tone they're going for. What kind of lethal weapon in space? I mean, it could be a good idea. I mean, okay, it could be a good idea. We got to see kind of what comes from it, and maybe see some footage and stuff like that. So I'm down for it. I mean, this is a really good idea, and having 2 Green Lanterns in the film, I think, is really cool. Of course, we have to see kind of how this plays out, and kind of are they both becoming Green Lanterns at the same time? Are they already Green Lanterns, or is only one of them Green Lantern? We'll see kind of how that plays out. But I kind of like the idea. I think the idea is really cool. I think if they want to go with that kind of tone, I think it'd be pretty awesome to see, depending on who they get, obviously. So we'll have to wait and see what this kind of has in store for us. Now, we will have a glimpse of the Green Lanterns in Justice League when it comes out in November later this year, because there was a report that said that the Green Lantern Corps will be making some sort of appearance in the film. In the meantime, like I mentioned, we'll have Justice League coming out in November, and we'll have Wonder Woman coming out in June. And speaking of Wonder Woman, segue. I don't know why I did that way. Wonder Woman, we have some news that maybe we finally know who the villain is. Now, again, this is the speculation part of the podcast. After all these years in developmental hell, we're finally getting Wonder Woman, which is awesome. Gal Gadot is playing Wonder Woman, and people have been trying to figure out who the villain could be. Now, we know that the film will be set during World War I, making it a prequel, And we know that Wonder Woman is leaving the island where she comes from for the first time. Now there's a new rumor, speculation from the film, that maybe we know who the villain is, and it's going to be Ares, the god of war. Now again, should be noted as a rumor / speculation that this is indeed the case. Warner Bros. And DC have not confirmed the news in any sort of way. Now the rumor stretched out from a translated set visit that had Chris Pine, who's playing Steve Trevor in the film. Now Pine said that Steve in the film has something that contains a notebook, I should say, that contains a scientific formula to a deadly gas that could wipe out humanity. Now, some outlets have taken this to suggest that the Ares is behind the gas and is either helping the humans in some sort of way or is disguising himself as a human to work his plan out. Now, this isn't outlets reaching either. This isn't them like being like, oh, well, it's a deadly gas. It has to be Ares, the god of war. No, they're not stretching. There was a rumor when the film started going into development, this version of the film anyway, was going into development. The early stages said that Ares could appear in the film as the villain. And nothing ever came from that rumor, and that kind of rumor kind of had seemed to be, died down when filming had started and everything else had started. At least, of course, until now, that apparently some sort of outlet kind of just threw out Ares' name out there, and they're like, yeah, you know what, we'll run with that. Why not? So right now, the only real villain we know is Danny Houston, who's in the film. And we've seen him in the trailers. He doesn't have any lines in the trailers, but we see him in the trailers. And he's typically known for playing bad guys. And he kind of had that bad guy look in the trailers. So there's that. We also see another character played by Elena Anaya. I think that's how you say her name. She's wearing some sort of mask in the trailer. You can quickly see her in the trailers. And actually pictures of her online as well. And she may be working with Houston's character. We don't know. And then there was this other photo that came out. This is a recent one that came out, and it pointed to one of the actors. And I don't know kind of where they got this from, but the photo kind of pointed out this actor, and I feel kind of sorry if that isn't the case. So it was like a behind the scenes photo. It wasn't. So it was like it was kind of like a behind the scenes photo. It was like a group picture and everything, and one of the pictures pointed out to David Thewlis. I think that's how you say his name. He's a British actor. He's in the film, and so far no one knows who he's playing. He's just there. He's just one of the cast members, and no one knows who he's playing yet. There's no credit. There's no character credit to his name yet. So a lot of people kind of just pointed him out, being like, maybe he's one of the villains. Maybe he's Ares. We don't know. So, speculation abound, whatever you want to throw it out. Either way, I think having Ares in Wonder Woman is pretty interesting, because it's odd, but at the same time, it kind of fits to Wonder Woman. It would make sense that it's set during the war. You would have Ares, the god of war, somewhere around the world, right? Somewhere in that war zone. So it'd be interesting to see kind of if that plays out and where that plays out in the film. We'll find out sooner or later. Like I mentioned, Wonder Woman comes out on June 2nd to be more specific. So we'll find out. Sticking with the DC Extended Universe, Ben Affleck is officially directing the Batman. So stop asking him. Although we pretty much kind of knew that he was going to, every kind of report that came out from the Batman film has kind of said that Ben Affleck is directing. And he finally said it. Ben Affleck finally said he's directing Batman. He was on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and he kind of talked about it. He didn't talk. He was strictly asked, are you directing the Batman film? He's like, yes, I'm directing the Batman film. Here's an actual quote from Ben Affleck.
Shut your mouth!
So basically, he's just saying, just stop asking him. Just stop asking him, and he'll be fine. So yeah, I mean, this actually comes from a rumor that came out earlier as well. Like I mentioned, a lot of rumors that came out this week, that the film was being pushed back because Affleck was saying that he wouldn't direct a film if the script wasn't good enough. He didn't want to make a bad Batman film. He wanted to make a good one. From the sounds of it, it looks like Ben Affleck is working on the script still, and they're working on it right now. And I have to agree with Affleck. I mean, people should stop, asking him. They need to calm down about Batman. Films take a long time to make. Ben Affleck has been working for Live by Night. You heard him earlier. He's been working on Live by Night for over a year. And films take a lot of time to make. He's promoting Live by Night. He's probably working on some other stuff we don't know about. Films take time. It's not gonna be easy, especially for a Batman film. And if I were the fans, I'm like, you're complaining about not having a Batman film right away. But would you rather have a good Batman film and wait for it, or would you have a shitty Batman film and have it just be released tomorrow? I mean, come on, let's be real. Settle down. Alright, so there's no production date or release date on the Batman film just yet, although rumors suggest that it could come out sometime next year or 2019. Let's just calm down on that for now. Alright, so the final news item, or news items I should say, because they're both connected in their own way, for the podcast this week is Avengers Infinity War. Now, one of them is a rumor. It was rumor week this week, guys. It was rumor week this week. So one of them is a rumor, and it involves an Incredible Hulk character coming back. Now, the Avengers Infinity War is pretty much, the biggest cast to date, pretty much. And this recent rumor suggested it could get a little bigger, supporting character-wise. According to a report from The Telegraph, Liv Tyler is rumored to reprise her role as Betty Ross from the 2008 The Incredible Hulk film.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Now, the film has been pretty much mum, with the exception of course, Bruce Banner, the Hulk. The film was finally brought back into the fold, with Thunderbolt Ross coming back, played by William Hurt in Captain America: Civil War. And Betty hasn't even really been mentioned too much in the Avengers films, and any time that Bruce Banner appears. We know she was still out there. Obviously, you're not going to erase these characters from existence, but it'd be really nice to see her come back, especially considering the relationship that Betty and Banner have in the comics and the relationship they had in the film. Of course, it's not Edward Norton, but whatever. So the Incredible Hulk. And by the way, for those people that are always wondering why there's no new The Incredible Hulk film or Hulk films in general, that's because Universal Pictures has the distribution rights, which would mean that really the money that the film makes would probably go to Universal, and a lot of it will go to Marvel, which is probably not what they want. And then they would have to work with Universal, and then Universal will probably want to change stuff, and it's this whole, rights, whole legal rights, not legal rights, but trademarking rights, I should say, kind of thing going on. So just that's kind of why, and that's maybe why Hulk is just gonna appear in Avengers films and not get his own solo film for a while. So, and that's why he's going to appear in Thor Ragnarok, or Ragnarok, however you want to pronounce it. So we'll probably know, but as for this, when Liv Tyler, we'll probably know a little bit more. The film is currently filming in some locations, I believe. I could be wrong about that, but I'm probably not, since the film comes out on May 4th of 2018, so they'll probably start filming pretty soon if they haven't already started filming. So yeah, there's that. There is also some confirmation that Zoe Saldana will appear in the film as Gamora, probably along with all her other Guardians of the Galaxy buddies, and Tom Holland will appear in the film as Peter Parker / Spider-Man. So there is that. But the final news item, the real final news item for the podcast this week, is this big one. Peter Dinklage is eyed for a, quote, key role in Avengers Infinity War.
Yes! 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 Yes!
We don't know what the report is. Variety reported on this, saying that the Game of Thrones star is in early talks for a key role in the film. Of course, there's no word on who he will play. Speculation is abound, though, on who he might be playing. Some people say he could be playing, I believe I didn't write down the character. I think it was Pip. Yes, it was Pip the Troll, which he has some connections to Thanos in a lot of ways in the comic books. So there's that. He could be playing Pip. Some people saying that he could be playing the Watcher, which is a character that has always been associated with Stan Lee, which is why People always think he's in the films because he's playing a very big character in the comic books, the Watcher. Some are even saying that he could be playing MODOK, which is kind of out there, but I would agree with that casting if that's what they ended up doing. We don't know who he's playing just yet, but it's still awesome to think that they would want Peter Dinklage in the film, and I think it'd be really cool. So we'll see what happens with that. Some people are even saying that he could be playing potentially Adam Warlock, which seems kind of interesting if that's the case, but we'll see what happens. We'll see. He's only in talks right now, so we shouldn't confirm his casting just yet. But it should be really cool to see if that happens. Of course, Avengers Infinity War again comes out May 4th, 2018. It is being directed by Joe and Anthony Russo, who directed the last two Captain America films, Civil War and The Winter Soldier, and is being written by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, who again wrote Captain America, The Winter Soldier, and Captain America, Civil War. Alright, so that is all the news items for this week, at least at the time of this recording. It's going to be pretty interesting. Of course, if anything pops up later, you can go to the Facebook page at facebook.com/moviepit for more news items. You can also go give me a like over there and be caught up and be well informed of what we're going to talk about here on the podcast this week. Remember, there are news items on the page that don't make it to the podcast, and sometimes vice versa. So be aware of that. A link will be down below in the description/show notes area. And while you're down there, you can go check out my WordPress account, which is Movies with Chris, where I do written reviews and monthly previews and some more stuff that is coming on the way over there, like editorials and opinion pieces that are on the way. So yeah, go do that. All right, so let's go move on to this week's trailers and trailer talk. That's our segment for the podcast. So we have 3 trailers that came out. The first one was Cars 3.
You will never be the racer you once were. Accept it.
Will Lightning McQueen retire?
I decide when I'm done.
And it's you know what? I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Cars. The first one was okay. I didn't even watch the second one. But that first trailer that came out for Cars, it looked really gritty. It looked like they had just changed the tone completely. And watching this trailer, this new trailer came out, it looks like they're going, back to their actual racing roots, and they're following Lightning McQueen's character. I don't know, guys. That just came out. But it looks like they're following Lightning McQueen's character, and it looks like the tone just is there. It just looks completely different. I mean, if this is their way of trying to bring back people to the Cars franchise, then I'm down for it. I mean, I am. Let's give it a shot. If the next trailer's really good and the tone is there, then I'll go watch it. It seems pretty exciting. I can't believe I'm actually excited to see the next Cars 3 trailer. Those are words I never thought would leave my mouth. But yeah, so let's move on to the next trailer, which was the first trailer for Chips.
Hey, we need to focus.
Are you kidding me right now?
I'm just kind of powerless when it comes to yoga pants,
Let's get you out of this parking lot. You have a visible erection. You think you can ride with that?
I don't know.
Of course, based off the TV show, got Dax Shepard in the film. He's playing John Baker. You got Michael Pena in the film playing Punch. You know what? It doesn't look that bad. I genuinely laughed watching this trailer a lot. I generally laughed watching the first time and then watching the second time. It's a pretty funny trailer, and I know it won't be for everyone. I know there's probably people out there that were fans of the original show, and they're like, "This isn't Chips." But you know what? It doesn't look that bad, to be honest. I think it looks pretty funny. So yeah, there's that. And then finally, a new Red Band trailer for Baywatch came out. This one I laughed a lot too. This is a really funny trailer. This movie knows exactly what it is and what it's supposed to be.
Drugs, murder. All this started once Leeds took over.
I thought we were lifeguards.
Everything that you guys are talking about sounds like a really entertaining but far-fetched TV show.
It's really funny. I mean, I can't wait for it. I really hope that it does well. I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I can't say much. So if you want to check out all the trailers, links will be down below in the description/show notes area to go judge yourself what you guys think about these trailers. Alright, so let's move on to this week's releases. We have a few expansion releases / wide releases finally coming out. The first one is Patriots Day, directed by Peter Berg, and on account of the Boston Police Commissioner Ed Davis, played by John Goodman, actions in the events leading up to the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing and the aftermath, which includes the citywide manhunt to find the terrorist behind it. The film also stars Mark Wahlberg, Michelle Monaghan, Kevin Bacon, and J.K. Simmons, amongst others as well. This looks pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. Peter Berg is 2 for 2 so far: Lone Survivor and Deepwater Horizon, and everyone's saying this is really good too. So if he's gonna be 3 for 3, I mean, Peter Berg is a great director. He's got a great cast in this film. He also got Melissa Benoist, aka Supergirl, in this film as well. Rachel Brosnahan, I think that's her last name. She was on the first season of House of Cards. She's in there. She's great too. It just looks really good. It looks like a pretty good film. So I'm gonna go. I'm definitely going to go watch it try to watch it this weekend. The next expansion / wide release is Live by Night, directed by Ben Affleck and based off the novel of the same name. The story is set in the Prohibition era and centered around a group of individuals and their dealings in the world of organized crime. Affleck, of course, also stars in the film along with Zoe Saldana, Elle Fanning, Brendan Gleeson, Chris Messina, Sienna Miller, and Chris Cooper. This is pretty good too. I mean, it looks pretty good. I mean, the reviews are just a little, they're a little in the mixed area. But I'm gonna go watch it. I'm a huge fan of Ben Affleck. I'm a huge fan of this cast. So you're not gonna stop me from not going to go watch this film. The last expansion wide release this week is Silence, directed of course by Martin Scorsese, also based off a novel. In the 17th century, two Jesuit priests, played by Andrew Garfield and Adam Driver, face violence and persecution when they travel to Japan to locate their mentor, played by Liam Neeson, and propagate Catholicism. This film looks pretty good, and it's getting some pretty good reviews as well. Some people are saying that it may be even Martin Scorsese's best. Some people, not everyone. I know. Some people are saying that. But it looks really good. The trailers are just the trailer, I should say. I think there's only one trailer for it. Are very powerful, and I can't wait to go watch this film. It is almost 3 hours long, so be prepared for that if you go watch it. Just putting that out there. So those are your expansion releases. Let's move on to your other wide releases this week. The first one is, of course, Monster Trucks. Looking for any way to get out of life and the town he was born in, Trip, played by Lucas Till, a high school senior, builds a monster truck from bits and pieces of scrapped cars. After an accident at a nearby oil drilling site displaces a strange and subterranean creature with a taste and a talent for speed, Trip may just found a key to getting out of town and a most unlikely friend. Yes, that is an official synopsis for Monster Trucks. The film also stars Jane Levi, Thomas Lennon, Barry Pepper, Rob Lowe, Amy Ryan, Holt McCallany, and Danny Glover. Look, it doesn't look all that great. I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't look all that great. But let's admit it. If we were under the age of 10, and this came out when we were at that age, we would all be annoying our parents to go watch this film. We will. We would have. I know I would have. So let's calm down on the Monster Trucks hate and hunt, being like, why are you insulting our eyes with this film? It could be good. It could be good. It might not be good. It could be good. Reviews aren't saying that, but you never know. You never know. So Monster Trucks, that is one of your wide releases. The next wide release this week is The Bye Bye Man. Based off a short story. I didn't know this until I started doing some research on the film. Based on a short story called The Bridge of Body Island by Robert Damon Schneck. Three friends stumble upon a horrific on the horrific origins of the Bye-Bye Man, a mysterious figure they discover is the root cause of the evil behind man's most unspeakable acts. The film is mostly filled with an unknown cast, with the exceptions of Douglas Smith, Faye Dunaway, Leigh Whannell, and Carrie-Anne Moss. This was a film that was supposed to come out in the summer. It got pushed back to October, I believe, or December, and then it got pushed back until January. Doug Jones is also in the film. He plays the Bye-Bye Man. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna go watch it. I am, because it looks like one of those, just dumb fun horror films that I probably enjoy. So let's do that. And the final film this week is Sleepless, based off the French film. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce it because I don't even speak French. But I did see the French film that was called the American version is called Sleepless Night. But it's based off a French film. A cop played by Jamie Foxx with a connection to the criminal underground scores a nightclub in search for his kidnapped son. The film also stars Gabrielle Union, Scoot McNairy, Michelle Moynihan, David Harbour, and T.I. The film doesn't look. It looks like one of those like yeah, I'll go watch that, I guess. I'm a huge fan of the French film that came out. I didn't even know too much about the movie. I didn't even see a trailer for it, and it was I was at a film festival. This was years ago, by the way. I was at a film festival, and it was one of like their special screening films, like one of their special secret screening films. They're like, we're not gonna tell anybody about this film. We're not gonna tell we're not gonna tell you guys anything about the film, and we're just gonna send you in and tell you just a little bit about it before you actually watch the film. And I ended up watching it, and I ended up really enjoying it. It was a really good movie. So if you haven't seen the original, I highly recommend you do it. It's a great film. It's a great little thriller piece, and it's just it's kind of more like a character piece a little bit too. There's some great action in the film. It was a really great thriller. A lot of suspense in there as well. It's just a really well made film. I don't know too much. I don't know how much Sleepless will be. It looks like there's a lot more action in Sleepless than the original, but I don't know. We'll see. It's also not playing that many theaters, so take that into account if you want to go watch Sleepless. Alright, so those are the movies coming out this week. Once again, Sleepless, The Bye-Bye Man, Monster Trucks, Silence, Live by Night, and Patriots Day. Silence, by the way, is also getting a very limited. It's a wide release, but it's getting a very limited push out there, so be aware of that when you go watch, when you go decide if you're going to go watch Silence. Alright, so those are your releases. Let's move on to this week's box office predictions. I wasn't going to do predictions originally because it is a long weekend. Obviously, Martin Luther King Jr. Day is on Monday, so I didn't want to really kind of just do predictions. I don't like doing predictions on a long weekend because you never know how the weekend's gonna work out, because they do count the Monday box office as well, and it's a day off for everyone. So it's like, well, not everyone, but for kids. So there was that. So I am very hesitant about doing box office predictions over long weekends, but I'm going to give you guys the box office that came out. But I am going to give you guys some predictions anyway. They're half-assed predictions. I have no intent of being right this week. I wasn't even right last week because the box office this week, Hidden Figures beat out Rogue One by, get this, not that much. Hidden Figures brought in $22.8 million at the box office, while Rogue One brought in $22.1 million at the box office. So it was a very close box office week. Apparently the two movies were tied on Sunday, and then the official numbers came out on Monday, and Hidden Figures had beaten Rogue One. So good for the film. The film is really good. If you haven't seen Hidden Figures, I highly recommend you go watch it. It is a film that you will heavily enjoy. It is a lot of people out there saying it's an important film. There's some problems I found in the film, but it is still a good film if you want to go give that a chance. So Hidden Figures is number 1. Rogue One was number 2 at the box office. Sing held on at number 3. Underworld Blood Wars came in at number 4, and La La Land came in at number 5. I forgot that La La Land was getting an expansion, and then with all the buzz around, especially around the Golden Globes, I didn't even consider it for the box office because I'm a dum-dum. So that was the box office last week. Again, these are just poor, just half-assed picks because I don't like really doing it. So Hidden Figures will probably be number 1 again. I want to say maybe Patriots Day or Rogue One will be battling it out for the number 2 position and number 3 position, and then Live by Night will be number 4. And I'm going to say this. I don't think anyone is putting this in the top 5, but I am. Monster Trucks. I'm just kidding. La La Land's going to come in at number 5 again. That's a joke. Actually, no one's putting Monster Trucks, by the way, in the top 5. Although I would not be surprised if somehow, just to piss everyone off in the universe, Monster Trucks ends up in the top 5. Remember, this is a kids movie. It is. You can say that it's pure garbage. Yeah, sure. It's still a kids movie. And it's a long weekend. Parents are going to go take their kids to go watch Monster Trucks. They're not going to take their kids to go watch Hidden Figures. They're not going to want to sit through a drama-filled movie where everyone is talking. They're not going to take their kids to go watch Silence or Live by Night or Patriots Day. They're going to take their kids to go see Monster Trucks. So I will not be surprised if Monster Truck ends up in the top 5. So even though I said it as a joke, Monster Trucks has a very good spot of being in the top 5 because it is a kids movie. Will it make a lot of money? No, it's not going to make a lot of money, but it could end up in the top 5. Just putting it out there. So I'm not even really counting my picks this week, but there you go. I think Hidden Figures will probably repeat at number 1. I think, like I mentioned, Patriots Day and Rogue One will battle out for the 2 and 3 position. Maybe Live by Night will be number 4, and then maybe La La Land and Monster Trucks will be battling it out for the 5 position. You can hate on Monster Trucks all you want. It's still a kids movie, and it's probably going to be one of those dumb fun films that, we all would have loved when we were younger. So you can hate Monster Trucks all you want. I was on the Monster Trucks hate bandwagon too. But again, if I was younger, I probably would have annoyed my parents to go watch this film, especially knowing it's a long weekend. So just take that into account. All right, so thank you guys. That is the end of the podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. Once again, you guys are great. If you stood all the way through, thank you. It feels like this is going to be a short podcast, so kind of rushed through all the movie news because there wasn't a lot. It was a slowish. I mean, when the news items came out, they were really big, but it was a slowish kind of news week this week. There are some other stuff that came out that was really kind of just stuff that we could have all known. I mean, there was a news item about Tom Hardy that he confirmed that there was another Mad Max movie in the works. And as much as I would have loved to put that in the actual cycle, I feel like we probably already knew that was going to happen. So, but hearing it from Tom Hardy does make it seem important. So, at least I told you guys. I told you guys all the way into the end, but so forgive me for that. But that came out as well, and that actually was coming out. I saw it from my little movie ticker here on the side when I'm recording. I saw that was coming out, but reading the report, it looked like it was just a confirmation that, yeah, I'm just waiting for the call. So that's kind of why I didn't add it. So, so thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. You guys are awesome. Links will be down below, so you guys go check that out. Trailer links, the link to the Facebook page, the link to my review page, and you'll see timestamps down there as well if you want to go back and listen to a specific news item. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. You guys are awesome. Hopefully you guys have a safe, fun weekend. A lot of movies to choose from. Let me know what movie you're gonna go watch. If you watched one already, let me know. And so you guys have a great one. And as always, go watch some movies.
Yeah! Give it up! Movies!